Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Cynthia the Audio Belle here with my Spanish guitar. So today I want to talk about the press coverage at audio shows. So press coverage at audio shows mainly covers the equipment, but what about the people? When I attended Axpona in Chicago this year, I met a lot of interesting characters. One of them including Herb Reichert of Stereophile. Herb is super funny and down to earth, and he tells great stories. If you see him at an audio show, introduce yourself to him. He loves people and he's totally approachable. When I introduced myself to him, I asked him if he would like to do an interview with me, and he accepted. And at the time, I only had my GoPro, so please excuse the shaky video and poor audio quality. Here is Herb Unplugged.
I'm going to interview you.
Are you going to interview me?
Yeah.
Okay.
For Steve.
And what do you want to talk about?
Well, are you ready?
Hi everyone, this is Cynthia the Audio Belle, and I am here with
Herb Reichert. And I'm going to interview you first, just because I'm a pain in the butt.
Okay.
Now, I've watched your videos. What state are you from?
Oklahoma.
Oh, right, Oklahoma. And you're in Tulsa? No, you're in Oklahoma City.
Yes.
How does that feel? You liked it, you told me.
Well, I've been there my whole life, so I don't really know what anything else feels back.
Okay. Now, all right, so we'll turn it around.
Okay.
I'm going to hand this to you, and then you can make the video.
Okay.
We'll switch directing. Is that okay with you?
Okay, I'm here with Herb Reichert. He has so graciously allowed me to make this video of him. And first, Herb, I just have a really important question to ask you.
Okay.
Who's Mr. O?
That's a good question. Wow. Wow. I first have to get up. Okay, I make up characters, but they're all based on real characters. And sometimes they get mad at me if they know who they are. Mr. O is John Atkinson.
Oh.
And one day he published, and I make up words for John Atkinson sometimes. They're not all real quotes. And one day he wrote a story where he quoted private things I told him, like off the record. And I went, John, why did you print that into a story? That was not for publication. And he goes, you do it all the time. You use me as Mr. O, and then you change my words. And so I was just getting even. But that's who Mr. O is.
So who are some of the other characters?
Well, my Irish brother is David Chesky. And then I have my Russian neighbor who is real, and he's really wild. He gets half sides of beef, and he's like smoking them with torches out behind my bedroom window at 2 a.m. in the middle of the winter in a t-shirt. But I added one, and he comes to my house, and I added a character, which is his blind grandfather. But I do it just to make fun of blind testing. So I have this blind Russian, and he comes in and listens, and and he's very picky about music, but he's my voice, and most of these people are really my voice. But in the case of Mr. O, it's a variation on Mr. Objectivity and the trolls on the website and John Atkinson.
So the O stands for objectivity.
The O stands for objectivity, right?
Okay, that's a really interesting way to write.
So we have a serious line editor at Stereophile, and he would change things. And I'm going, wait a minute, if I write a quote, you can't change it. And so it was a literary device where if I wanted to say something that I didn't want anybody to mess with, I would put it in quotes and make up a person saying it.
Oh, that's clever.
And now it's like solid and they can't touch it. If I go, Cynthia says, they can't say a word. But it's just the same craziness I might normally, right?
I like that. So I've heard from reliable sources that you have a crazy reputation. Why do you have
Define crazy reputation.
Yes.
I'm old and I've been around lots that people don't even know about. If that makes any sense.
Like what?
I grew up in Chicago. I'm the first person the first male in my family. The women were all very well educated, but I'm the first male in my family to get past the 5th grade. And I saw myself as kind of a hillbilly, and I was autistic as a child, and I was a rocker. And so I got picked on a lot. And then finally, I realized the only way to stop people picking on me is to fight back. And I started fighting back and taking drugs and doing alcohol. And all of a sudden, you're living a kind of crazy life. And I'm kind of like security isn't one of my necessities. I'm willing to kind of just float. And if you're willing to float and sleep on couches or along the side of the road, you're more than likely to have some adventures.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little old, but adventure's still fun. So that's probably where that reputation comes from.
Just the way life goes.
Yeah. Look, we're here doing this. That's an adventure all by itself.
I know.
Who would have dreamed?
And you look so different in person.
And likewise, you too. That's why we put you at the beginning, so you could see yourself here under this light.
Well, I'll get to see it once I review it back at the hotel. Some of the questions I've been asking people when I'm here, I see a lot of people that are older, but I don't see any young people, and I'm wondering why. Where are the young people at?
They're in Europe.
They're
in
Europe?
Munich.
Why are they in Europe?
America is weird. I call it the cartel owns the audio industry here. And it's very straight, and it's like ABC. People don't vary from it very much. I think it's almost like a Protestant ethic mixed with greed and extravagance. In Europe, it's, at Munich, there were 56 rooms with horns. 56. There's not even 56 rooms at some of these American shows. And you would always see couples were really common. I mean, more than half of the people were a couple. I'd say more than half of the people were under 45. I'd say most of the couples were between 25 and 35. And many of them, they weren't necessarily, shall we call, traditional couples. And it's just more normalized there. And hi-fi, I don't know, it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they treat it a little differently over there.
I know, I've seen a lot of things that are really high priced that I could never afford.
How do you feel about high price?
I don't like it because you're only directing towards a certain market. People that can afford those components or that want to buy that expensive gear.
And that's probably why they're so old.
Right, because at that point they have the money to actually purchase those products.
Yeah, and they weren't in the era of millennials with student debt or any of that,
Just got done with their bachelor's degree.
Yeah, young people today, they don't have the same kind of, most of the people, I live in Bed-Stuy. The majority of the newcomers there, which is many-fold. My neighborhood in 10 years quadrupled in population. And that population, I would say, is all under 35. And they all get up early and go to work. They don't have trust funds, they don't have inheritances, but they're smart. And they know they got to go out and find a new way to make a living, and they're doing it. My generation wasn't like that. There was a prosperity level in the 60s and the 80s that I'm not sure when that prosperity level will ever exist, especially for younger people. I grew up building race cars. Maybe that's the other reason. I was a drag racer, and I never wanted to go to college. My parents insisted. They wanted a son with clean hands. And so I went to college begrudgingly. I didn't get into very good colleges or anything. And But the people in my neighborhood, I was mentored by the kids on the street. And I think my parents lost control of my mind by the time I was 15. You know, maybe they never regained it again, but I loved it. I think audio is definitely an extension of, you know, Matchbox cars, you know, oh, look what I have. And that's my only guess, because, you know, yeah, I don't think, you know, maybe they're running, you know, maybe it isn't. I always say it's probably boring to young people and women, but it doesn't have to be. I try my personal best to kind of make it a more broad base. I remember riding on the elevator at Vegas one day, and somebody said, "You're a writer," and somebody else said, "Yeah, he's the guy. He's the only guy in audio who has all the wives reading his reviews." And it was one of the greatest compliments I've ever had, because I try to not make, you know, you don't need to know about the gear. I try to make it a good story that would stand on its own, you know, 5 years from now or 10 years from now without even knowing what the equipment is. That is one of my sort of viewpoints when I write. And concerts start too late for me, you know, so I like watching them on YouTube. And that to me is the future. I mean, YouTube videos are powerful. They're more addictive than drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, I've squandered more time than I will ever admit. And I'm guessing you probably have watched a few in your life.
I watch YouTube like crazy, especially at work when I'm wanting to find new music, and then once I find the new music, I buy it and support the artist.
And you use headphones at work?
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, really? You can listen on speakers too?
If I'm working from home, then I can
right.
listen to
TV. I don't watch TV, but I watch video. I watch your videos. All of them. People say, well, Herb, you're in there entertaining. And at Stereophile even, I've avoided, right from day one, I've avoided writing about expensive equipment. And I told my boss originally, I want to write about headphones, I want to write about turntables, and I want to write about small speakers and things that everyone wants. And my feeling was kind of selfish. I just wanted more people to read it, you know. And there's already enough guys going around writing about all this other stuff. And I still think, you want more people at this show that are young, under 40? Have more stuff that's fun. You know, make it less boring, have more characters, have, you know, more personality and lower price stuff.
So now that you've met Herb, if you see him at an audio show, say hello to him. He may not have time to tell you one of his stories, but he's always glad to meet new people. I'll be back again with more characters in high-end audio, so stay tuned. This is Cynthia, the Audio Belle, signing out.